iPhones have been undeleting old news. Many users, and this has been reported by The Verge and Mac Rumors, many users are reporting old, long-deleted photos are resurfacing on their iPhones as if they were recent photos following Apple's 17.5 iOS update. This includes devices that were previously wiped, resulting in embarrassment for at least one user who wiped their device before selling it to a friend, only to have revealing photos reappear on the device. It is unclear at this time whether this is an indexing bug or a synchronization issue with iCloud, but many have reported finding long deleted photos, including sexual images, meaning that this is unlikely to be a problem with recent photos being inappropriately retained. Wow! Is there ever a lot to unpack here? And I would like to preface this by saying, look, this is not unique to Apple. This particular incident is uniquely happening to Apple, but this whole issue where cloud providers are not actually fucking deleting something when you press the delete button is a widespread issue. Now, in some cases, this is a feature more than a bug. For example, I don't think we're doing a Backblaze read this week, but one of the things that we mention whenever we talk about one of our sponsors, Backblaze, is that for a fee, you can actually extend their data retention when you delete something. And the idea is that it's a recycle bin.
Which if you've ever like sent an email and then been like, oh wait, and then clicked the undo thing or whatever because you misspelled a word or did something wrong like that, having an undo can often be quite nice.
And in the context of something like Backblaze, where the things that especially B2B customers are backing up to their service could be mission critical, and that is it. That's their offsite backup. The ability to undo an accidental Control-A delete, or even in some cases a malicious deletion of offsite backups could be absolutely critical. But in the case of services where it is being communicated to you that when you delete something that it is
permanent,
gone, oh man, this is challenging. Now, something that we don't know, right? Because this is saying old, long deleted photos, right? Something that we don't know is, are these photos on another device somewhere? Are they synchronizing to iCloud through that? And then is this simply a case of the device ID somehow not being unlinked correctly from that iCloud account? Like there's a number of different ways that this could transpire, but the bottom line is that this is a broad issue where cloud providers are not deleting things that you mark delete necessarily, and not managing that data in a way that is adequate, I guess is the word that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So what I want to know, okay, our discussion question here is this a temporary bug or is it indicative of a deeper issue with information storage that needs to be addressed? I mean, absolutely the second one. Yeah. But what I want to know is, what is the liability here? And when are these companies going to answer for these things? Yeah,
because there's the sexual images angle, which is I think like the main one that's coming up, especially in the articles that we're seeing.
But what about just the privacy?
There's privacy issues. There's photos that might be relatively traumatic to people.
Yeah.
They might not want coming back. They deleted for a freaking reason. And having that put front and center in front of them can be pretty frustrating and annoying.
And I mean, man, like here's what I want to know. Like Apple is a company that purports to take privacy very, very seriously. How exactly is it that this data wouldn't be stored in an encrypted fashion? And if it gets synchronized to a device, how would that be decrypted without account level authentication? I mean, tell me, you know more about this kind of stuff than I do.
It's not necessarily stored in an encrypted fashion.
Well, why not?
It's more difficult. And if they feel like they don't need to, just like, who cares?
That's not a good response, brother.
I'm not saying that's the truth either. I have no idea. I'm just saying it's not. I don't necessarily know that they're stored in encrypted fashion. Photos on iOS. Do they back up to iCloud? We might be able to figure this out.
I mean, if you pay for iCloud, sure.
So if you don't pay for iCloud, then it's, who knows?
Theoretically, yeah, your 5 gigs are going to back up, and then that should be all that's synchronized to iCloud. Like even with the that huge celebrity image leak, like that was all things that people were storing in iCloud. There was no way to get something that was locally stored off of a device off of it. It was all through. I believe that was mostly through authentication theft and third parties getting access to people's iCloud accounts.
Mm-hmm. I'm not 100% certain. It says your iCloud data is encrypted. The encryption keys are secured in Apple data centers where we can help you with data recovery. And only certain data is end-to-end encrypted. But I don't think we're talking about an end-to-end encryption scenario. Like This isn't being grabbed partway.
So, I mean, why? Okay. Obviously, there's a computational cost, right? But with how many accelerators we have in modern devices, don't you feel like
end-to-end encryption? I can understand not wanting on everything. That can get pretty annoying. But the encryption in general, which it says it has, to be fair, on iCloud, that's not that bad. And they say that they have it, so that makes sense to me. How it would be unencrypted? Like, did they log out of everything before they sold this device to their friend?
To be clear, when he says unencrypted, decrypted. How it would be decrypted.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, theoretically, when you wipe an iPhone, it's wiped. So the only way
did they do that though?
They said they did.
They said they would.
And I mean, realistically,
I don't know,
man. This kind of checks out because how could you?
Okay, so
your friend would have to log into their iCloud account. You can only be logged into one iCloud account at a time on an iPhone, from my understanding. So as soon as your friend logged into their iCloud account, anything that was synchronized with the old iCloud account should be gone.
I would like to think so. I mean, I don't know how any of this stuff works, so like commenting on it is a little bit difficult. Handyman pointed out something that I was kind of reading into, but wasn't sure about either. Where on the end of what I was reading says, "Advanced data protection for iCloud is an optional setting that offers our highest level of cloud data security." And Handyman is saying that the key is only stored on just the user side if you have that advanced data protection enabled. So they have the keys for everything on their end.
I see.
If you're not running advanced data security, which I would assume like less than 1% of people are running.
Yeah, if it's not a defoult, I don't think most users are going to be touching it.
Totally. And like Google has the same thing. Almost no one runs it. So they absolutely have a way to decrypt it on their end.
There's people in the chat that are saying this has nothing to do with iCloud. It sounds more like data wasn't deleted off the device storage. But the thing is that the way that NAND flash works, like it's once you do a secure erase, which from my understanding is part of the device wiping process for both Android and iOS at this point. Once you do a secure erase, NAND flash doesn't work the same way as old mechanical storage did, where you could kind of reconstruct at least parts of files by just looking at contiguous ones and zeros along the tracks in the platter. It's not like that. Once you delete the index of what all of those zeros and ones in all of these NAND cells correspond to, there's not really a meaningful way to reconstruct that. The only way that you can recover data from a NAND flash device is by recovering the controller. Like you essentially have to restore that index that's stored on the controller. You can't just get it from NAND chips.
So from Apple, on the iPhone, go to Settings, General, Reset, and select Erase All Content and Settings. This is a secure erase of everything but iOS. So it sounds like you're right. That's what they're doing. People are talking about you should talk about how OSs mark things as deleted. That's not generally what he's talking about. What you're talking about is removing a pointer to a file effectively. So you tell your operating system to delete something, and instead of actually deleting it, because it's like, whatever, this is Flash, it just forgets where it is and then will eventually write something over top of it. That's not secure erase though.
And it won't even write something over top of it until you've removed it from your recycle bin, potentially, depending on the operating system you're on. Like, for example, I haven't been using an iPhone lately. So the last Apple device that I used daily was the Vision Pro. And I wanted to delete a screen recording, and I deleted it. And it warned me immediately. It was like, hey, this is going into your to be deleted folder, and you'll have to go in there and you'll have to delete it. I wanted to play around with the file management on the Vision Pro because I was trying to transfer screen recordings off of it. And so I was doing all these screen recordings, and I was like, oh my God, there's no way to, you can't just plug a cable in and transfer data. Are you kidding me? Okay, so how do I get rid of stuff on this thing? And so I was trying to figure out how to delete a screen recording. And so I ended up having to kind of navigate through that. All the little icky-picky details that were in my notes for the Vision Pro didn't really end up in the review because we were so late, because we got the device so late, that it ended up being more like, okay, what new perspective can we give on it? And everyone kind of, I didn't need to talk about their file explorer or whatever, right? But as far as I could tell, the way it works is it goes into a recycle bin for 30 days, and then it's automatically purged from there. So you wouldn't be at risk of overwriting anything until it's purged from there. But it should be noted that the iCloud account that I was using, or the iCloud account that I was using, did have extra data storage purchase, so it was also synced online. So then there was an additional step in order to delete it off of there as well. It was the whole thing.
Yeah, is this like person who sold their device thing? Is that a one-off? I don't even see that in the notes.
Well, it looks like lots of users are reporting
the photos coming back, but is the sold device thing a one-off? Because I think these could potentially be different scenarios.
They could be.
Like someone secure erasing their device and selling it to someone else, and this happening is different than someone just randomly having photos come back.
This includes previously wiped devices. So as far as we can tell, at least one user had revealing photos reappear, but it might not be just one user who ended up with photos that didn't belong to them showing up on their device. Guys, if you've read a bunch, I have spent the entire day today building a computer for our CEO, which, by the way, is going to be awesome. We took suggestions from Reddit for what the theme of the build should be. We ended up with all kinds of great suggestions. The one that we ultimately settled on was all chrome. And Luke's seen it.
It's pretty amazing, actually. It's pretty cool.
You haven't seen the chair yet, though.
Oh. Is it like actually going to be uncomfortable for him to work?
I mean, it doesn't sound like my problem. Oh my God. Why is a chief executive sitting down? Should be decisive and a man of action. Moving around, talking to the people. Anyway, it's going to be great. So yeah,
all I'm getting out of this is that none of the C levels are going to have chairs anymore.
So let's not rule out user error, I guess, is what we're trying to say.
On some of it, I'm not saying the thing as a whole, but you run into scenarios like this where like some people that had this genuinely happen speak up, and then a bunch of other people that just like screwed up but don't know also speak up.
Yep.
And it ends up getting kind of lost in the sauce a little bit. There's enough reports here that it sounds like this is actually probably happening to a certain degree, but I don't think, based on the information that we have, that we're going to be able to figure out like the mechanism that's failing.
Yep. A lot of people just seem to generally be kind of struggling with iCloud. Like Skosh in Floatplane Chat says, I've had photos that I delete locally stay on iCloud and not show specifically that they still exist. It could have re-downloaded. That was one of the things that bothered me when I was trying to delete that thing from the Vision Pro as well, is I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell
if this was device level or cloud level,
how I was deleting it. And I could see Apple taking that approach for the sake of what we were talking about earlier, the ability to restore data.
I bet you that's a lot of this issue.
But man,
resyncing
with a photo, sometimes when you delete a photo, you're like,
I want this gone.
This needs to be yote.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I understand Apple's design philosophy, big, simple buttons, But sometimes right-click is the answer. A context menu is just superior. Your philosophy be damned. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll see how this goes.
I have a message in Floatplane chat from Joshua Carroll. Said the undeleting pics just happened to me. After seeing the show title, I started the update on my iPhone. The update just got over and it's real. Pics of my ex, including suggestive ones, are back in my camera roll.
That could have been awkward, man.
P.S. I have my iCloud photos turned off. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So it's not syncing? It's like finding... So it might be the pointer thing.
My old pointers.
Yeah. It's finding files and re-pulling them out.
Whoa.
At least in this case, that's what that sounds like. Because there's no way it's syncing if he has iCloud off.
And I guess depending on how much data you write to your phone,
you might not run over it.
Yeah, we don't necessarily overwrite our phone data unless we're regularly recording long videos, right? It's not like you can fill your phone up with apps anymore the way that we used to.
The oldest photo accidentally recovered was 21st September 2022.
Wow.
That's been
from like a year and a half ago. That's rough. Man, just be glad that you have this WAN show
as an excuse
to point the current, SO at. So you can be like, this is why they're there.
Imagine. Oh my God.
Yvonne and I hand each other our phones without a moment's
I do
thought.
That too.
We're in a very trusting, I was about to say very open relationship. We're in a
different meaning these days. Different meaning.
Look, no judgment on my part. Whatever works for consenting adults works for consenting adults.
Yeah.
But we're in a very trusting relationship, and to us that's no big deal. But I'm not going to say that if pictures of an ex-girlfriend were just like there in my camera roll.
Yeah.
Freaking when she went to look for a recent picture that we snapped of the kid.
If you hadn't read this article,
that would raise some questions.
If you hadn't read this article or watched this WAN show, and that happens, what do you do? What do you do?
Pray?
This is probably going to happen to at least one person.
Pray to Zeus.
Strike me down now.
Fix this, or just do it,
or just get rid of it. Oh my goodness! It's what? How do you explain? You're just at a complete loss. This picture is just here, and people are saying that it comes to the top of your camera roll, right? It must show the date because
the metadata probably shouldn't be changed.
Yeah, there's got to be a way to find the date that it was taken, but it would have jumped to the top of your camera roll, which as someone who hasn't used that app, because I don't really use iPhones, I would assume that's because it was recently accessed or something. If I was the person finding this information, that would be what I would jump to, right? You must have looked at this recently or something.
Apple single-handedly fixing the dating pool issue. I can't take credit for that. Who was that in Floatplane chat?
That's pretty good.
I don't know, someone. Good job.
Good job.
Take that, Blue Bubbles.
Relationship ruined. You got in this relationship because you didn't have an Android. You got out of this relationship because you didn't have an Android.
Nice.